Flawless is a Texas-based natural skincare line for all skin types, started by a Black woman named Bianca. After she graduated university, she had broken out with cystic acne, dry peeling irritated skin, and had scabs and scars all over her face. She tried different skincare methods and skincare lines for 3.5 years with no success. That's when she remembered the idea of Flawless that God gave her almost 4 years prior and started making her own natural soaps. The name Flawless came from the Bible verse, Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 7, which says, "You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you." Now, let me tell you, Flawless products have done the trick for me. I absolutely love that they have handcrafted products made in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality, and they're free of parabens, phthalates, and sodium lauryl sulfate. The slow-cured traditional cold process method used makes your skin look and feel flawless, baby, and who doesn't want that? So if you're looking for skincare products that are made with care using ingredients that you can trust, go to www.flawlessnaturalsoaps.com and use my referral code Candy for JC, that's CANDIE, the number 4, and JC, to get 10% off all of your purchases over $10. Choose Flawless and be reminded just how beautiful you are in the eyes of God. You're listening to First Paso. Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and guys, I am back from my family vacation. I miss my girl Kaya so much, guys. It was so nice to play with her for the week and just spend time with my family. I've missed them so much, even though I literally just saw them in March and April. But you can never have too much family time, right? Especially when you have healthy, loving family. I really actually enjoyed just relaxing, spending time, not feeling like I needed to run around and do all these crazy things to explore and whatnot. It was just time of conversation and laughter. So much laughter. In fact, we played this game, and I guess this is what happens when you have a musical family that's married into a family that very much knows their music, even though they're not necessarily musical. And it was really nice to play this game basically of like, who wrote this song or who sang this song. And my older brother, he went online and he was just picking a year and the top 100 hits from that year. So we did like 1987 and 1975 and 1999 and just went down the charts and listed off a title, and someone had to yell out who the singer, songwriter, artist was. So we had a blast, loved it. It was great. And guys, I hope you guys had just as fun, if not more fun and more relaxation than my family got to do together for our Labor Day holiday here in the U.S. Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So for today's topic, I was thinking of a friend of mine. Today is her 30th birthday, and I remember turning 30 and feeling really excited. I remembered being ready to step into this new decade of life and really believing that God was going to open doors for me and bless me and take me to a different level than I had gone through in my 20s. It gave me an opportunity to really reflect and see what was going on in my 20s. How did I grow from age 20 through to age 30? It was a really reflective time of my life when I turned 30. And in fact, I remember 30 so well because I had just gotten licensed as a pharmacist a couple weeks prior on February 19th. And I had prayed this prayer. I really wanted to get my license before my 30th birthday, and I did. So that birthday was so celebratory and exciting for me. So I reached out to my friend yesterday and asked her, well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about your birthday? And I want to just check in with you. Today's your last day of being in your 20s, being 29. Tomorrow is 30. What's going on? And she said, she's not ready at all. And she's had the crying emoji. And I was like, what makes you feel that way? Like, why are you feeling that sad about your 30s coming up? She's like, well, I feel old and I don't feel like I did a lot in my 20s. I'm still trying to figure out my life. And so I wanted to ask her more about that and go, oh, what would have been considered doing much? Like, why would you say you haven't done much up until this point? Because when I look at her and the impact that she's made on my life and seeing the things that she has accomplished and figured out and learned, I look at her life and say, this is beautiful. Maybe it looks different compared to someone else's life, but it's not even that you've done so much as you've grown, you've learned, you've jumped into new experiences, you've explored, you've done so many miraculous things to me that I can't grasp why you don't see what you've done as being much. So I just wanted to understand where she was coming from as far as what would doing much be from her perspective. And she actually didn't even know. She wasn't sure what that would look like. She started explaining how, she's already having aches in some of her joints depending on how she's sitting or standing, and maybe she hasn't had romantic relationships and things like that, and just a lot of things that were weighing on her heart that hadn't happened yet. And so that's why today I really wanted to focus on the concept of being pressured by the supposed to life. We live in a world where we have these expectations. We live in a world where expectations come from ourselves, come from family, parents perhaps, maybe it's by a grandparent. We have expectations in our societies, in our communities. We have expectations from social media, news media, celebrities, Hollywood, movies, TV shows, culture. There are so many angles by which we are hit by this expectation or this supposed to life. And we, at least in first world, and I truly believe that other cultures do experience this, and other worlds, if you will, first, second, third world, have different aspects of things like this. Not all of them by any means. I can't say all of society, all of the world deals with this. But I can probably bet that a great number of people living now and even in the past have dealt with this pressure of needing to live up to something, or that we think we're supposed to, living the supposed to life. And it's driven by expectation, and expectation is often driven by comparison. And this concept is pretty personal to me, as most of these concepts are, even when I do have interviews with people on my show. There's a lot that I can resonate with, or I learn from and take away from. And this conversation that I had with my friend yesterday really made me think back on some of my supposed to experiences and want to just sit in that headspace. And I realized that she can't be the only one. I can't be the only one who's experienced it. So, it's good to talk about this supposed to life. The supposed to life is daunting. The supposed to life can be heavy. It can be anxiety provoking. It can lead to panic attacks. It can lead to depression and fear, worry, just so much pressure. The issue with really living in the supposed to life is that our framework for where we're getting supposed to, the supposed to mindset, the supposed to concept, isn't a stable framework. Where do we get it from? It's just something that we conjured up within ourselves, that we just really wanted to, we aspired for it. Is it something that someone else conjured up for themselves and they're impressing it upon us and putting it on us to carry that burden on their behalf? There are so many reasons why the supposed to mindset even shows up. So, for example, I remember a season of my life where when I thought of the idea of being married, having children, having my degrees, getting into different schools and whatnot, I had these timelines throughout my 20s, specifically in my 20s. I don't understand why I had so much pressure to accomplish certain things in my 20s, but it seems as though it's an issue in society, in many societies, that your 20s are your make or break it years. And if you mess that up, well, you might as well just start digging a hole in the ground because you blew it, And so I remember being pressured by these things. So at about age 18, I started university, and I went to a Christian university. And I remember this pressure, this expectation that was brought to me that had never been in the forefront of my mind until I stepped onto campus. And that concept was, before you graduate, you need to have met your husband. In fact, if you can get married before you graduate and earn your MRS degree, then you really lived the full Christian educational experience. Now, that was, again, not a thought in my mind, but it was everywhere we turned. It was put in our mailboxes to come to different singles events to try to find your mate. And it was brought up in sermons and convocations and in Bible studies and in small groups and in life groups and in events and in classes. It was everywhere. You saw it. You saw how it was celebrated if you found someone. You saw how it was kind of looked upon as being kind of sad if you weren't in a relationship or you weren't finding your mate. And so the pressure got to me, and I started making a timeline for my 20s. So my timeline very much was, at least be dating by the time I graduate at 22, be engaged, getting ready to get married at 24, have my first kid at 26, and hopefully in that time frame also become a physician and go through residency, all these things. I really felt heavy when I realized by 22, not only was I in a season of the start of my 10-year journey to living my most fulfilled life for the rest of my life and having that breakthrough that I talk about often through my full platform, not just on this podcast, but, through my YouTube channel and social media and things like that. I was already in the middle of that journey by the time I graduated college, which I ended up graduating college at 23 instead of 22 because I had a year off as a missionary. And that was kind of like, whoa, I've chosen this, but I was okay with that. I was okay with that extra year because it was for edifying of my spiritual self. So it was fine. And at the same time, being so heartbroken and so shattered by my relationship when I was 21, before I went to Ecuador as a missionary, that I realized I didn't even want to be around men, let alone be in a relationship to get married. I kind of wrote the idea off. And I was disappointed in that mindset being shattered. I felt like, oh my goodness, that supposed to is obliterated. Like, I don't even know if it's going to happen at this point. And then it was the expectation of, well, if this is not happening now, I'm probably not going to end up getting married and having kids by the time I want to, and And then I decided I wasn't going to be a physician. And then I was like, oh, that's a whole other supposed to. That was an expectation or a process that was shared and expressed and encouraged in my family. Ended up becoming a pharmacist instead. Ended up dating someone in my 20s again, and that did not go well either. And so it was another like, oh man, almost got engaged, and that didn't go well. And so it was just a number of supposed to's in my 20s. So I was like, man, I'm not getting there. I'm not hitting those marks that I want to. And yet, there were so many other things that I realized that I didn't set as these mile markers and these supposed to checkpoints, if you will, in my 20s. But when I could look back and reflect, I could see my growth. I could see the experiences that I had. I could see the lessons that I extrapolated from the good and the bad, the ugly, and everything in between experiences that I encountered and participated in and experienced. I could see where God was working in my life. I could see the impact of my family in amazing ways. I could see impact from other people in surprising ways, including my friend whose birthday is today. I could see the opportunities that were presented to me, brought before me. I could see the fortitude, the endurance, the fight that I had in myself to complete daunting tasks, major challenges, mountains to climb and overcome. And I could look back every year and see something that I was grateful for. So that way, by the time I hit 30, those supposed to's didn't happen. And I was kind of bummed about some of them. But you know what? Looking back, it was so much more about the intentionality that I had in my 20s to keep growing, keep learning, keep exploring, keep discovering not just the world around me, but the world inside of me and what makes me me. I had so many things to be grateful for that when 30 hit, I just lifted my hands to the heavens and said, God, I am so excited. I am excited for what's coming. I'm excited for where you're taking me. I'm excited to run with you. You're running so fast, and I want to keep up. And in some aspects, you're walking so slow, and I just want to walk at your pace. I want to sense you when you're moving fast, and I want to sense you when you're moving slow, and everything in between. I just want to go on this journey of life. Thank you for taking me through what I've gone through in my 20s, and let's go through the 30s. I don't have any other expectation than continuing to learn and grow, continuing to be edified, continuing to explore, continuing to live free with joy in my heart, completely fulfilled in that joy and freedom, and being whole, loving all of me. So yeah, the pressure of life can absolutely put us in a predicament where we are overwhelmed by the supposed to. Well, I was supposed to do this by this time. Well, I was supposed to accomplish this. Well, compared to what everyone else is doing, I should have done. I needed to do and I didn't. It is so easy to lean into that. It is so easy to think that if that didn't happen, especially by 30 just sounds like a daunting age for a lot of people. And I know for my listeners who are in their 30s, well past their 30s, you guys chuckle. But I know you guys remember. I know you guys remember those seasons of going, 30. Oh, it sounds so far away. It sounds like so old. But then you reach it and you realize, there's just so much more. There's so much more to explore. I was listening to a video, a live stream that I did in 2020, 2021, around there. And I was on a walk, just going out on a Sabbath morning, wanting to share some thoughts that I was having after watching a video called Purpose and Purpose Partners on the YouTube channel Redefined TV with Pastor Jerry and Tanisha Flowers. And I had just planted different pots on my back porch. And I realized I was looking at these plants and how they're growing and how they produce fruit at different times. And I had talked about my tomato plant. And on my tomato plant, I had 2 or 3 tomatoes. And I remember one of those tomatoes was very rich, red, juicy. And the other one was on the same vine, branched off from the red one, but on the exact same vine. But it was big, bright green. And I talked about how they go at different paces. They're literally attached to the same vine, and yet they're not producing at the same rate in the same way. But it doesn't mean their experiences are any different. Yeah, the green one could be thinking, well, I'm supposed to be red by now, and I'm not. But it doesn't mean that the green one's not getting what they need. It doesn't mean that the red one just got all the things. It just means that they're on their different journey, attached to the same vine, learning, learning and growing. And that's us. We are like tomatoes on the vine. We're experiencing our world. Everyone is living on the earth, but everyone's living it differently in their own path, going on their own journeys, experiencing their own experiences. And there's things that happen and things that don't. And focusing so much on the supposed to life can get in the way of us celebrating the where we've come from life and the where we are now life and the where we hope to be life. But to say that there's a time limit on which we have to achieve and do certain things to be considered worthy or considered loved or considered a success. There's no age for those things. Today is the time. If there's any supposed to, we're supposed to live today and hope for tomorrow and very much appreciate the lessons of yesterday. And so I want you to take some time in this moment to repeat these words after me. Really breathe in, Hold it and breathe out. Settle into that space and repeat these words. And make it personal. You know me, I want you to make it personal. Candace, don't worry about the supposed to. Be more concerned with the lessons you take along this journey called life. Be excited for what's to come. Be hopeful for tomorrow. Be grateful for yesterday. And get excited for what today can offer you. This is your season. This is your moment. Soak it all in. One moment at a time. All you're supposed to be is you. If you repeated that after me, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. And I really celebrate you going on this journey of taking these first pasos. Every paso you take, every single step is for your edification. It's for your growth. It's for your learning. It is for your breakthrough. It's for your healing. It really is. And it's coming. It's already here. Don't discount. Don't discount the years that are behind you. Appreciate them. Be thankful that you have today to even look back on yesterday. And by God's grace, you will be granted a tomorrow. And there's a tomorrow to look forward to. It's an open world of opportunities. The canvas is open, blank. There's so many paintbrushes, so many colors. And you get to create this masterpiece in front of you, not realizing that you've been painting the whole way. Keep painting. Keep growing on your vine. Be excited for where other people are on the growth journey, where they are on the vine as well. It won't all look the same, but it's all worthy to be celebrated and learned from, no matter what, rain or shine. There's always something to be thankful for. Well, that's it for today's episode. If you want to learn more about how you can support this podcast, link up with me, book me for your next speaking event. I would love to connect with you. You can go on my website at www.firstpaso.com. Follow me on my socials, check out my YouTube channel, connect with me, be a Patreon, whatever it is that you would love to do to connect with me. I would love to hear from you. Make sure to like, share, subscribe to this show, and let people know why you loved this episode. Otherwise, take care, stay safe, God bless, love you guys, and we'll talk soon. Besitos, bye.